Testing, testing. Hey, if you were watching this, no, I'm not sitting in a jail cell, although it looks like I am. So I actually moved offices. For the last however many years, I've been in my personal house with an office and a room. Well, this year, our kids are homeschooled, so my wife kicked me out. I actually have a real office offsite of my house, which, not gonna lie, I'm kind of pumped about because it lets me get out of my house for a little bit and just come to a quiet space. But anyways, the painters, all the decoration people are coming in next week. So we are roughing it today. I'm gonna deliver you top of the line content with subpar decorations. Let's go. So today I wanna give you the top 3 keys to being successful in real estate. If you listen to different podcasts, YouTube channels, you read a lot of different books, blogs, whatever the case may be, you may see a lot of different clickbait topics for what you need to be able to do to be successful in real estate. Somebody may talk about a certain type of real estate you should get into, such as residential or commercial, or maybe even more niche like Airbnb or Section 8. Or somebody may really talk about cash flow and how that's the only thing that you need to be successful in real estate, which, by the way, that's a lie, and those people have no idea what they're talking about. But today I'm gonna give you 3 keys that are gonna allow you to be successful no matter what type of real estate you choose to dabble in. Residential, commercial, the Airbnb, Section 8, warehouses, I don't care. These 3 things, if you learn them, you can be a successful real estate investor. If you don't master these 3, then you never will be one. And so I would argue that this may be the most important video I've ever put out, because if you take this to heart, you go and implement what I teach, you're gonna be able to absolutely change your life. So what is the first key to being successful in real estate? What's lead generation? So my entire professional career, I have been in sales, one way or the other. I started in uniform sales, then I sold in the pharmaceutical world, then I sold in the medical device world, and now we help sell education to folks who are wanting to get into real estate and better their finances. And so literally that's all I've ever known since I graduated college. And if there's one thing I know about sales, is that if you do not have any leads coming in, you're not gonna close any deals. And if you don't close any deals, you're not gonna eat. And the same is true in our real estate business. The first step to being successful in any real estate business is generating leads. What does that mean? No, it does not mean generating deals that we're definitely gonna close. We'll get to that in a minute, but the point of generating leads is getting potential properties that we may be interested in coming our way so that we can look at them and decide if they are a property we wanna buy. Now you may be thinking, okay, cool. Well, how many of these leads do I need to be able to actually land a deal? So glad you asked. There is a rule that we call the 1-1-1 rule. And it says we want to be having 1 lead coming in a day that we're analyzing so that we can make 1 offer a week that's going to lead us to 1 deal per quarter. Now, if you want more than 1 deal per quarter, we just bump those numbers up. But we need to be getting at least 1 qualified lead that we can look at to analyze, which may or not be step number 2, to then decide should we make an offer or not. So how do we come about these leads? Well, I think there's 2 ways to do it. You can do it from what I call organic lead gen or marketing lead gen. When I'm talking with new investors, I love to point them towards organic lead gen because it generally takes less time out of their day and it costs way less money, usually nothing, compared to when we get into the marketing. So what are some ways that we can organically get leads coming to us without having to do much work and really while leveraging other people's resources? Well, number 1 is we can get an agent partner. Now, we don't just want any old real estate agent, but we want an investor-friendly agent who will bring us deals on the regular. 2, we want to get on every wholesaler's list in our area. If you don't know what a wholesaler is, it's just, we joke and call them bottom feeders in our area. They have a bad rep because a lot of them do shady stuff, but you can find some decent deals every now and then through wholesalers. They are going to go and they're going to lock properties up under contract at a discount. Then they're going to sell that contract to you, the investor, and then you're going to close on it and you're going to own that property. Now, I think wholesaling is a dying industry and they are starting to regulate it all across the United States. Interestingly enough, South Carolina was the first state to be regulated. We're a conservative state. We normally lag behind. So if you can see conservative states doing this early, wholesaling is in big trouble in the future, but right now it's great to get on all those wholesalers lists. Number 3 is go to local meetups. I don't care if you're buying in the actual area that you live in or not. Go to local meetups. If you're buying in your area that you live in, you can get a ton of lead gens just from meeting people there, other investors looking to sell properties. Or if you're not buying in your particular area, you're going to make a connection with someone who knows somebody in the area that you're investing in, and they're going to help the lead gen no matter where you're investing across the country. Number 4 or 5, I forgot which one I'm on, is driving for dollars. Go and drive around different areas in your target market and find properties that look vacant, overgrown, ugly, outdated, nobody's taken care of it for a while, mark it down, find the owner, and get in touch with them. This is one of the easiest ways to find real estate deals. I usually set aside 30 minutes to an hour per week to get in my car and just drive in what I call B2C class neighborhoods. So these aren't the scary parts of town. These aren't the best parts of town. These are the parts of town where it's right there in the middle. You still have properties that are in decent shape that can appreciate, but you can still get them at a deal. And I will drive through and I'll find all the vacant properties. I'll make a list of them, and then I go and hunt down the owners and try to get them to sell me the property. This takes a little more of your own sweat equity compared to other people bringing you in leads, but it is worth it. And it's one of the most organic and easiest ways to start generating leads. And you may say, well, where I live, I can't buy rental properties. It's too expensive. Well, that's okay. If it's too expensive to do rentals in your area, I would venture to say that you could still probably do fix and flips. So why not go out and learn the market, see what properties that are fixed up look like, find those vacant homes, see if you're able to make numbers work, and we'll talk about that more in step 2. So those are some of the organic ways that we can generate leads, but we can also go and put some marketing time and money into generating leads as well. And this depends on how many leads you're wanting to generate. If you're saying, Jaron, I want to do 2, 4, 5 deals a year, you may not have to spend a ton of time over here in the marketing section. But if you're saying, hey, we want to ramp this puppy up, we want to buy 5 to 10 rental properties while doing 4 to 5 flips a year, then you may have to dive into the marketing space. So what are some of the marketing pieces that I do and our team uses to generate leads? Number 1 is cold calling. So we're going to go and we're going to pull a list of motivated sellers. If you guys click in the show notes below, I've put a list that we pull on PropStream of motivated sellers that you guys can copy. Go download PropStream, put this list in, pull these lists, and start calling people in your target areas. So it may be people who have just got divorced. It may be an estate sale. Unfortunately, a parent just passed away or a spouse just passed away. It may be someone in pre-foreclosure who needs help before they go into foreclosure. Maybe somebody who's in foreclosure. It could be probate. There's a whole list of motivated sellers, of folks who just need to sell their property for whatever reason. It may be a tired landlord. The list goes on and on and on. But we're going to pull the contact information of all these owners, and then we're going to pick up the phone and we're going to start calling them. Now, depending on how big your outfit is, will depend on how big of list you pull to dial these particular distressed owners. So if you aren't trying to do a ton of deals per year, well, you may narrow it down to a certain neighborhood that you're interested in and pick up the phone and just target that neighborhood. Whereas some folks who are looking to do 5, 10, 15, 20 plus deals per year, they're going to pull a lot of lists and they're going to get to dialing the phones. Now, if you don't want to dial the phone, then you can always hire someone. You can always get an intern from a local university, which has been a huge thing that I've done for very, very cheap or free labor, and they're getting to learn and build their credibility while they're helping you. Or third, you can hire a cold calling company. I'll put the link to the cold calling company we use down below, REI Call Center, and let their professionals call for you. The second thing we can do for marketing is we can send out postcards. So if we're doing it on a small scale, we can handwrite these letters and send them to potential owners. So let's say you go driving for dollars and you find 5 properties that look vacant. Well, you can write those 5 handwritten letters and send them to those particular houses. That's not going to take a lot of your time. But if you're trying to scale, we can use different companies to allow us to send mass mailing out in these entire zip code areas. You can design the cards however you want.
It's no secret that if you're going to be successful in real estate investing, you have to be able to fund your deals. Whether you're doing the Burr method or whether you're fixing and flipping properties for a profit, you got to be able to get to the closing table with money, and you got to have money to rehab the property. And so I personally use Backflip Capital when I need money to get to the closing table and to rehab my properties. I'm in the middle of a flip right now, and I partner with Backflip. It has been the smoothest process of all time. I literally went on their app, applied for the loan. You get pre-approved in less than 48 hours. You can lock in funding in just a few seconds with the touch of a button. Funding takes less than 2 weeks. Hello, that gives you an advantage when you're making offers on properties. And I can't say enough about partnering with Backflip Capital. They're great folks with a fantastic product that everybody listening to this should check out for the next time you go to do a Burr deal or fix and flip property. So here's what I want you to do. Go down to the show notes of this show. I've put a link for Backflip Capital in those notes. All you have to do is click the link so that you can download their app and get your next deal funded with backflip.
With the goal being to target these motivated sellers who are going to call us when they're ready to sell. Now, you have to understand with the mailers, it usually takes some time. They have to see your postcard over and over and over, and you got to catch them right at the right time that they're ready to sell. Somebody wakes up one morning, they have to sell for whatever reason. Your postcard's sitting there on the fridge or in the mail from one you sent 4 months ago, and they decide to call you. But just understand that it's going to take 6 to 7 months to get up and rolling. Third, and one of my favorite, is pay per clicks. So you can go onto Google, start running ads. Hey, we buy houses. Fill out this form or call this number if you want to sell yours. Any condition, as is, closing cash in 10 to 14 days, whatever your stipulations are. And then folks can fill out the form and it gets notified and sent to your phone, or they can call you directly. You can obviously put a mask phone number in front of that so they don't have your personal phone number. You answer it, you start working the deal with them, go visit the property, see if it makes sense or if it doesn't make sense. One of our partners for that is AdWords Nerds. We don't run that ourselves. I don't have time to deal with that. AdWords Nerds, great partner for us. So let's move on to step 2. We've got all these leads come in, whether they're coming in organically or whether we've spent marketing dollars to get them. Next, we have to know if these leads then are going to be a good deal or not. Should we pursue them? And if we decide to pursue them and we go farther, should we actually offer on this property? What should we offer? What are our numbers going to be? What's it going to sell for on the back end? If we flip it, what's it going to rent for? We have to know all that. I would say step 2 is arguably one of the most, if not the most important pieces of real estate in the entire process. Because if you can't analyze correctly, you're going to hem yourself up big time. At some point, you're going to end up buying a bad deal because you didn't know what you were doing. So I could teach for hours upon hours upon hours on analyzing deals. So I'm going to put some videos up top here that dig into how to analyze real estate deals more in depth for any of you guys who want to go dive into that after this video. But I'll walk you through some of the basics that we have to do to understand, is a deal going to make sense or is it not? So number one, if I'm looking at a deal to potentially be a rental, I immediately look at the 1% rule, which is, what do they want to sell this property for, or what do I think I need to buy it for? And then our rent's going to be at least 1% of that purchase price every month. So for example, if I'm looking at a home that's going to sell for $200,000, I need to be able to get at least $2,000 a month in rent for this deal to make sense as a rental, for me to even get close to cash flowing. So if I'm looking in areas where the average sale price is $250K, but I know top rents are $1,500, that's not going to make sense as a rental. We don't need to waste our time because it doesn't even come close to the 1% rule. Now, does that mean we need to abandon that area? No, it means we may need to abandon that area for long-term rentals, but there may be potential for midterm rentals, short-term rentals, and I would bet a lot of money that there's probably an opportunity for fix and flips there. But that's a quick analysis that I do right away. Now, one of the processes that I go through for flips and rentals is what I call the 70% rule, okay? So I start by looking and trying to figure out what is the after repair value of the home that I'm looking at. What's it going to be worth? After repair value is essentially what this property is going to be worth after I fix it up. And the way you figure that out is you can go on an app just like Zillow. Don't look at Zestimate, please, but go on Zillow, click sold homes. So change it from homes that are for sale to homes that have already been sold within the last 90 days to 6 months with the same type of bed bath that you're looking at, and find homes that have been rehabbed or updated and realize what they are selling for price per square foot. So then once you've got that price per square foot number, you then take that price per square foot number and go multiply it by the square footage of the home you're interested in. Once you've got that number, that is what your ARV, your estimated after repair value, should be in that ballpark. We're going to take that and we're going to multiply it by 70%. Then we're going to subtract our rehab cost, and that tells us what we should purchase the property at. So again, we go find our after repair value, multiply that after repair value by 70%, subtract our rehab, and that gives us our purchase price. This is going to protect us in many, many situations. If you're doing fix and flips, it's usually going to give you a very large buffer to make a strong profit. And if a rehab or the project should go longer, then we've given ourselves that big buffer by buying at the 70% rule. I always joke and say, even though old man Dave Ramsey says use the 70% rule, and that guy's pretty darn conservative. And so if he's saying it and I'm saying it, you probably should listen. Use the 70% rule. Start there. It's not gospel. You may pay more, you may pay a little less, but it's a great way to get started. How do we get our rehab costs? Well, very simple. At the beginning, we're going to have contractors go quote it. So we'll get 3 quotes from 3 different contractors, and we will start to understand what price per square foot costs to get projects done. On a very large scale, and these numbers can change depending on where you're buying, you're looking at $25 to $35 a square foot for a light rehab, $35 to $45 for medium rehab, and $40 to $45 plus for a full gut heavy rehab. Okay, now again, do not trust these numbers across the board, but it is just if you want to use them for a quick analyzation, you can, but the best way to understand what a property is going to cost you rehab wise is to have contractors go quote it. And then you start understanding, what does each large item cost per square foot to finish? What are your kitchens costing? What are your bathrooms costing? What's your flooring? What's your windows? What's your paint? And then as you do this over and over and you start looking at quotes and understanding what the market's saying, you can go and analyze these potential rehab costs better over time. I think it's always good to put a 10 to 15% buffer in there as well for whatever you're quoted with rehab, to expect it to go longer. And then don't forget your holding costs. When you have a project going on, whether it be for a fix and flip or for a rental, you're going to have some holding costs. Okay. If you have debt, if you're using a bridge loan, private money, hard money, then you're going to have to pay that interest only payment every month. Plus you're going to have to pay utilities while you're holding the property. And then obviously you're going to have to pay the contractor cost as well. So as you're running those numbers, we can't forget those monthly holding costs that are going to eat into that profit if it's a flip, or it's going to eat into that refi amount if we're going to do the burst strategy. And then the third, one of the most important tips to being successful in real estate investing is knowing how to raise capital. How do we get funding for deals? If we don't have money, we can't buy deals. If we don't have deals, then we don't have any money that we need to raise to get deals. So it all goes together. But at some point, we've got to find some funding to get these properties done. And I don't care how you fund them. You can fund them with your own cash. You can fund them with a HELOC. You can fund them with an unsecured line of credit. You can fund them with hard money. You can fund them with a private lender. You can fund them with the bank. You can fund them with the mix of all of them. I don't care. The point is, when we take the time to generate those leads, and then we take the time to analyze those leads and understand that we have a great deal, at that point we got to be able to jump, make an offer, and close with somebody or someone's capital from somewhere. And so I just ran through them all, kind of stole my own thunder, but some of the easiest ways to fund deals are using your own cash. If you have the cash to do an entire deal, great, go fund it. You don't have to jump through any of the hoops. A HELOC, if you have a HELOC in place. Then we could do hard money, especially if you're doing flips or burrs, where a hard money lender is going to lend you, call it 80 to 90% of the purchase price. So you only got to come up with 10 to 20% of a down payment, and then they're going to give you 100% of the rehab, which is amazing. And so you may be like, well, I don't have 10 to 20% of a down payment. Well, great, go get a private lender and have them give you the down payment. And then use the hard money to fund the rest of it plus the rehab. Or you can use your HELOC as the down payment. Or we could go to a private lender, which is someone in our network, friends, family, co-workers, other investors. This comes from networking, okay? And I like to make this point, you only need one private lender to completely change your life. One person lending you money can completely change your life. And you may say, well, nobody in my family is super rich. I don't know. Nobody I had to go to church with or that I'm friends with. That's okay, but I want you guys to look at each of those people and think about their network and the tree branches that come off of each of those people. Who do they know? And if we take the time to dive into people's networks and spend time and go to lunch with people and go to breakfast and dinner and have these conversations and go to local real estate meetups, and you start having good deals and presenting these good deals to these people that you've networked with who have money, there's a really, really, really strong chance that you're going to find somebody to lend to you. This is what I've learned from being in this industry a long time. The deals can potentially be the harder part, coming across the deals, but there is so much money out there wanting to be deployed. There's so many wealthy people who are looking to invest with people like you that have strong deals, that once you crack into that network, you will go from, God, how am I going to get a private lender, to which private lender am I going to use on this deal? And then you may use a small local bank for a ton of my rental properties. That's usually the route I go. I will work with a local bank to the area that I'm buying in, and they'll give me an 80% loan to value on a commercial loan, so I can get as many loans as I need essentially to buy properties and not cap my personal debt to income ratio. Or you can use a debt service coverage lender as well. And what properties you buy under those commercial loans, debt coverage loans, don't affect your personal debt to income ratio. So you're going to be buying under an LLC most of the time, and it's not going to affect the Jaron Sustar's debt to income like it would if you buy a personal home or you buy a vehicle. And that's how you're going to be able to scale without eating up all of the debt to income. So guys, the three biggest keys are, number one, you got to be able to generate leads. Once you have those leads, you got to be able to analyze them. And number three, once you've analyzed them and know you got a good deal, we've got to be able to fund it. If you spend time becoming a master at those three things, you can change your life through the greatest asset in the world, real estate. Guys, if you found this video helpful, like it, subscribe to the channel, click that little bell. It'll let you know when my next video is out. Share this with somebody who needs to hear it, and I will see you next time. Thanks for tuning in.